We begin with Emma, a beautiful young girl getting ready for school. She has received an excessive number of certificates and awards, implying that she is a genius. Emma is a meticulous freak who enjoys having everything in its proper place. Her father, David, informs her that breakfast will be ready in 5 minutes. While having breakfast, Emma told David that she would soon receive a medal from her school, which would be given to the outstanding student.
I just don't want you to be disappointed if you don't win it.
Meanwhile, her Aunt Angela arrived and informed them that she had found Emma a babysitter. However, Emma claims she doesn't require a nanny and asks Angela to watch her instead. Angela claims she would like to, but due to her busy schedule, she is unable to babysit. At that moment, she peers through the glass and notifies them that a deceased cat has been discovered in the fountain. David rushes out to retrieve the cat from the fountain, telling her not to be upset. However, Emma looks at her father like she feels nothing. She then heads to school. While attending the class, a stinger suddenly enters the classroom. All the students got scared, but Emma bravely caught the stinger in the glass and flew it out of the window. Mrs. Ellis, the class instructor, complimented her for being so courageous. On the other hand, David interviews Chloe, the new nanny. Chloe has 5 years of experience working as a nanny, and David was intrigued by her credentials. As a result, he hired her. Chloe inquired about David's wife.
She died just after Emma was born.
Chloe informs him she will join next week and leave. At the school, Emma overhears that a classmate, Milo, praises the wristwatch of another girl, and she states she got it on her birthday. Emma then bumps into her, causing Katie to fall to the ground. Emma apologized and assisted her in getting up. By doing this, she achieves 2 objectives. First, she proves to Mrs. Ellis that Emma is a kind child who helps others and is therefore eligible for the award. Second, she steals a watch from a helpless girl. That evening David handed her chocolate milk and bid her good night. Before heading to bed, Emma grinned and spoke to herself in the mirror. The next morning David assisted her in getting ready and telling her she looked pretty like a movie star. However, Emma feels a little anxious because today is award ceremony day. Emma's eyes anxiously glance at the medal at the event, and she knows deep down from within that it's her. But unfortunately, Mrs. Ellis rewarded Milo with this medal and certificate, which enraged Emma. After that, David apologizes to Mrs. Ellis for missing the last parent meeting and inquires about Emma's progress. Mrs. Ellis states that Emma is a brilliant student but lives in her own world.
That medal's mine. I deserve it.
David tells her Milo is a good kid, so he must have some exceptional qualities. Emma claims he is a lousy public speaker and can't spell. Later, Emma takes Milo to the lofty pinnacle to show him the breathtaking view. Milo urges her to return just after he has seen it. Emma took the medal and shoved him instead of returning. She quickly reappears and urges David to go home. Milo's mother inquired about Milo's whereabouts, but Emma lied and claimed to have seen him near the bonfire. At that moment, 2 girls cried for aid when they discovered Milo lying on the rocks. Everyone rushes in to save him, but it is too late. Emma appears cold and emotionless as if nothing had happened. She is aloof, with no tears in her eyes or expression on her face. That night Emma eavesdropped on David's conversation with Angela regarding the incident. Angela asks how she is doing. David responds that she is in a state of shock and that he will talk to her later. The next day, David tries to talk to her about the incident at the breakfast table. Emma responds very calmly.
I don't really think there's anything to talk about.
Emma's impersonal response made David very anxious. After some time, Chloe, the new nanny, shows up. David gives her a tour and also introduces her to Emma. That evening, Emma witnessed Chloe passionately admiring David's image and grabbing sleeping pills from the medicine cabinet. Chloe queries Emma on how she is handling the loss of her classmate as they are viewing the film. Emma says it makes no difference if she is sad because he is no longer alive. Chloe then inquires as to if David has a girlfriend. Emma stated no and inquired as to why. Chloe states she just wanted to know. Emma claimed she spotted her stealing Dad's medicines from the cabinet. If she cooperates, she will not tell David. Emma then instructs her to bring her some ice cream. Chloe didn't like it but was forced to comply because there was no other way. The following day Emma and David attend Milo's funeral. Everyone in the class was crying. As a result, she performed some sobbing drama to demonstrate her distress. Additionally, David discovered that Milo's medal was missing. After that, they return home. In order to store clothes in the closet, David goes to Emma's room. A toy landed on the ground as the clothes were being laid out. He swiftly picks up the toy, but fails to spot the medal's ribbon buried under the bed. The next morning, Mrs. Ellis and a lawyer visit David at his residence. Milo was allegedly seen walking toward the rocks with Emma, according to Mrs. Ellis.
Please don't misunderstand. We're just trying to get to the facts.
Emma quickly created a distraction by smashing the cookie jar and tumbling to the ground, injuring herself. David rushes swiftly to assist her. The stunt works well. The lawyer and Mrs. Ellis escape immediately. While applying the bandage, David asked her about Mrs. Ellis's assertion. Emma states she is lying because she despises her and does not understand why. At that time, David undoubtedly becomes perplexed about what is happening. He said his goodbyes and walked away. He then takes a shower, and when he emerges, he is shocked to see Chloe there. She claims she only wishes to inform him that the milk has run out. The next day, Chloe apologizes to David for last night's awkward encounter.
So how can I help you?
David refuses Chloe's request for permission to smoke inside because the area contains flammable materials. Moreover, he instructs her to smoke outside and return to work. Chloe has a crush on him and wants to chat with him and entice him to come to her. However, the endeavor was futile. After that, Chloe and Emma go for a walk. They witness Mrs. Ellis entering Milo's house. Emma gets upset about it, and Chloe advises her the authorities are getting involved, so it is better to get the story straight, or she will get busted. Chloe has full suspicion that Emma has something to do with the young boy's death. Well, pretty girl, you're being skeptical about her is absolutely right.
I didn't do anything to Milo.
Sure you didn't.
When they returned home, Chloe tried to control Emma by playing with her mind while revealing that the police would imprison her if they got wind of it. Emma was afraid, but she kept it hidden from her. Dear Chloe, you have no idea who you are messing with, so I advise you please stop. That evening, Chloe explores the entire house for Emma but cannot locate her. She even searches the garage for her. At that point, we discover that a stinger nest is also missing. In the meantime, Mrs. Elise leaves Milo's house, gets in her car, and starts driving away. However, she fails to see a stinger nest behind her back seat, leading to an accident. During the search, Chloe discovers Milo's medal under Emma's bed and hangs it beside David's bedside lamp. When David returned home, Emma went to his room to speak with him and spotted the medal there. She swiftly grasped the medal, but unfortunately, David caught her. David was taken aback when he saw the medal in her palm and inquired about it.
It was hidden under the bed. I found it cleaning.
As Emma stared fiercely at her, David urged Chloe to give them some space. Emma explained that they played a game where the winner received the medal. Therefore, she earned it. David claimed that Milo's mother wanted to bury him with this medal. Emma remarked, "How stupid of her." David recognized at that point that Emma needed assistance. He stormed out of the home to get fresh air and process what had happened. While driving, he called Angela to take a child psychiatrist's number and observed the accident on his way home. The following morning, David accompanies her to see Milo's mother and return the medal. Milo's mother was perplexed about how Emma obtained the medal when she returned it. Nonetheless, she did tell her the identical story she told her father the night before. Emma also apologized, saying she was reluctant to return it to her after what had transpired. Emma also performed some melodramatic crying drama to persuade Milo's mom. She expressed gratitude for returning it and also let them know that Mrs. Ellis had passed away in an automobile accident because of a wasp nest in the rear seat of her vehicle. David got stunned to hear that. Emma immediately pretends she is ill and demands that David accompany her home. While walking, Emma behaves quite normally and runs gleefully toward home. David then returns to the workshop. While working, he notices that the wasp nest has vanished. At that point, he understands Emma has something to do with Mrs. Ellis' accident and is in serious need of assistance. The following day, David accompanies her to the psychiatrist for an evaluation. Emma had a session with the therapist, and she lied to her the entire time. Finally, the therapist comes to a conclusion and informs David that Emma is absolutely normal, just like any other girl her age. After that, they returned home, and David discovered Chloe absorbing sunlight. He instructs her to go upstairs and take care of Emma. Chloe irritates Emma again by pretending David loves her and that she will soon become her stepmother. Emma becomes outraged upon hearing this. "Chloe, please don't go too far." Emma's expression indicates that you will be knocked out soon. After a while, Emma ran into David and told him what Chloe had said to her. David assures her that this will not happen.
I don't want a stepmother, ever.
David says he'll talk to her about it later and then walks away since he has a date lined up. While watching television, Chloe notices a disturbance and begins hunting for Emma. While searching for Emma, she spots someone in David's workshop. The door from outside abruptly locks on her once she gets into the workshop. When she attempted to open it, the room abruptly caught fire. Chloe becomes terrified and begins yelling for rescue. At that moment, she discovers Emma looking at her out the window. She shattered the window. Regrettably, it was already too late. Emma observes her inhumanely until she passes away. After a while, David returns home and discovers firefighters and police at his residence. The firefighter informs him his daughter is fine, but the nanny didn't survive when the fire broke out in the workshop.
It's okay, Daddy. Nothing happened to me.
That evening, David urges Emma to be completely honest with him and tell him everything that happened since he loves her and wants to help her. Emma confessed that she had taken Milo's medal and he was going to report it. She pushed him, and he fell on the rock. David then asked about the first nanny. Emma claimed she should have never grabbed her arm, so she kicked her, resulting in her falling down the stairs. Emma admitted each of her actions one by one.
So you did, isn't that right?
The sheriff calls David the next morning to inquire about last night's incident with Emma. David explains that Emma is not feeling well and is in a state of shock, so he asks Sheriff to do it after a few days, and Sheriff agrees. David quickly wakes her up and heads to Lake House. When Emma inquires about it, David says he needs some quiet time to consider his next move. Brian greeted them and told David to contact him if he needed anything. David thanks him, and Brian walks away. Following that, David phones Angela to alert her of the fire disaster but doesn't reveal Emma's involvement. In order to defend himself from Emma, David now keeps a revolver beside his bed drawer, indicating that he no longer has faith in her. Later, the sheriff calls, informing him that someone deliberately fires the workshop and that he will get to the bottom once the forensic report arrives. When David is watching the video, Emma sneaks on him. David yells at her, and Emma claims that
I would never hurt anyone for no reason.
That night while David is asleep, Emma kisses his forehead and turns on the gas in the entire house to get rid of him. She grabs the juice and leaves the building to enjoy it by the lake. Thankfully, David awakened on time and immediately switched off the gas. He then approaches her and asks why she does it, telling her he is her only family. Emma claims that Aunt Angela loves her and will take good care of her. David was correct in being cautious of her, putting the gun adjacent to his bed and not trusting her. After that, David prepares chocolate milk for Emma and adds a combination of pills to it. She asks him to add cream, so David goes to fetch some. David is upset because he does not want her to rot in a mental institution. He stays beside her till she nods off. David immediately called Angela and told her everything, even how she had tried to get rid of him. Angela does not believe David's remarks. Angela believes David has gone insane and warns him against making any foolish decisions. Emma wakes up in the middle of the night and goes to set up a scene, leading him to shoot himself with his gun. Thankfully, the bullet missed him. He woke up, and David was surprised to see her alive. Emma claimed she switched the hot chocolate cup with his because she was skeptical of him. Despite his trembling, David snatches the gun away from her. She phones the police while running, yelling that her father is attempting to harm her with a gun. She promptly locked herself inside the washroom and screamed loudly. As he shatters the door, Brian appears and asks him to lay down the weapon. When David declines, Brian shoots him, and he dies instantaneously. Meanwhile, police came to the scene, and Brian gave them his statement. Angela assures Emma that everything will be fine and she will look after her. Angela hugs her, and she smiles like a psychopath killer who never leaves a trail behind. So that was the bad seed. If you like this video, don't forget to like, comment, share, and turn on the notification so you won't miss the next recap. Until then, cheers!